Welcome back everyone to American Truck Simulator. In our last video, we finally got around to upgrading our truck. It's been quite a while. We've done a lot of deliveries on what essentially amounts to a basic big rig. And as you can see on the screen, we now have the upgraded sleeper. We've got the upgraded chassis. We've got the upgraded engine. We've got all sorts of upgrades. Now there's still one thing that is remaining to be upgraded, and that is our paint scheme. We are not far away from getting there. We need to be at level 20. We're currently at level 17. And actually, we have a skill point that we need to assign. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So we're avoiding the long distance right now simply because that would make our videos much longer if we continue to extend that out. So we're not going to worry with that. And let's see, we get a 5% increase by going to rank 4 here. So 5% higher reward. Okay, nice. Same thing here, 5%. Then just in time, only 3%. Okay, so we'll do an additional in high value cargo. And at some point, we'll get into the fuel savings. But for right now, we are trying to maximize all of our bonuses. So right now, on our skill tree, we are fully upgraded on hazardous cargo. So we're doing great there. Long distance is at 2, which is probably where we're going to stay for at least the time being. We might go and increase that a little bit later, but for right now, 2 is plenty for our needs. High value cargo, we just increased that to 4, fragile at 3, and just in time at 2. So fuel economy be one of those things that we'll get into a little bit later, but right now we're trying to maximize all of our income that we possibly can. And speaking of that, one of the 2 ways that we can do that is we can either get some AI drivers, which we're working on, and we'll take a look at those here in just a minute. But also we need to pay back our debt. So we're going to be attacking the debt here for probably the next couple of episodes, maybe a little bit longer than that. We'll see how it goes. But you can see we've got a little over $400,000 that we owe right now, and that is in 2 separate loans. The good news is that right now, we can actually repay this second one. It's only $76,000, and we have enough money to take care of that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Let's go ahead and click repay there. There we go. Now we're down to $325,000 that we need to repay. And of course, that's costing us almost $5,800 per day. Okay, excellent. We're down to only $10,000 in our account, but that's perfectly fine because we're not planning on purchasing anything for the next little while we're attacking that debt. So now let's come into our driver manager and let's just take a look and see how everybody's doing. The good news is everybody is progressing right on schedule. You can see our dollars per day. We're over 2,000 with all of these guys now, and that is exactly what we want to see. We want to see progress. We've got Scarlett upgrading on hazardous cargo. You can see she's got 1 unlocked there, and then she'll be working on the remaining 5 of those before moving on. Otherwise, she's pretty much got everything else unlocked at least a base level, so she is in very good shape. Then we move on to Christian. You can see hazardous cargo as well, and he is halfway there. 3 out of the 6 total, and otherwise he's got several other things unlocked, but not necessarily to the same degree as Scarlett. Then we move on to Philip. Same thing, hazardous cargo, but he is halfway there, but he just doesn't have some of these others. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually have this guy go distance for a bit. Let's actually go ahead and let him get at least one, if not 2 or 3 in this particular category before we try to fill in some of these others and let him catch up a little bit. And then finally, we go to our newest recruit, which is Alicia. She is currently working on just-in-time delivery. So we're going to try to let her get probably 2 levels here, and then we'll have her work on some of this other stuff as well. But she's already okay in the distance category, at least for the beginning levels. And let's take a quick look at her log and see exactly what she's getting. Okay, so one fairly decent job there. Made us a profit of just over 2,000, but for the most part, she's doing some minor profitability type of deals. And then we contrast that with Christian, who is currently making the highest average per day. And here you can see, I mean, we're at 4,600, 34, 35, 39. So some much better deals that he's able to get versus what Alicia was able to get. And you see a few that are not very profitable mixed in, but by and large, he is getting much better deals, and he's going to make us much more money per day. All right, if we take a look at our map, the map is something that I've been really intrigued about potential mods for the map as we move forward, and there are at least one mod that I'm going to be trying out that will allow us to go coast to coast. And with that particular mod, the Coast to Coast mod, we'll see how that goes. We're going to test it out, and hopefully everything works out, because I would love to get over closer to the East Coast just to have a little bit of variation and spread things out and give us a reason to increase our distance skill. All right, so for right now, we need to find a job. We need to get to work. So we are currently sitting right outside of Oakland, and we are actually at the port right now, so that's good. Everything here is at the port, so let's see what we could get. We're actually going to do a bit of a shorter one here. We're not going to try to do a terribly long one. 476 isn't terrible on the distance, and the amount we're going to make is actually twice. So that's pretty nice. Let's go ahead and do that one. It's only 476 miles. We're used to 500 plus. All right, so unfortunately, what's happened is while we are indeed here at the port, we're going to have to work our way back out. All right, let's go ahead and get everything engaged or disengaged, as the case may be. But I really wish the game didn't make you go right back out to the entrance to pull up the contract that you want, and then turn around and come right back in. It would be nice if we could just say, hey, you're already in the port, so while you're here, here's your next job, which is exactly what we're trying to do. So we're going Oakland to San Diego. Okay, I don't believe we've been to San Diego yet. Let's put it this way, at least I don't remember going to San Diego. All right, let's try to see if we can turn this thing around without hitting anything. We're getting close to that hitting anything. There we go. I think we made it. So now we have to work our way through the maze to get back here to where we need to be to hook up to this trailer. So we're at night, and I've managed to remember to get the lights on. All right, let's see where we're at. Oh, it's right over there. Okay, that's not bad. Looks like we've got plenty of room over here to get lined up pretty well. All right, well, that's not exactly where I meant to stop there, but this should work out just fine. So we're going to use our mirrors. And the one thing I don't get a good view of is the depth perception when I'm using these mirrors. I can't tell exactly how close I am to the trailer. But other than that, they're working as designed. Oh, we cannot go this way. Sure, that makes perfect sense. Don't let us go where we need to go. All right, yeah, we want to absolutely make this as much of a maze as we possibly can, so that less than stellar truck drivers such as myself will have a hard time. All right, so far so good. It's almost seeming like a huge task just to get out of the port without hitting anything. All right, so we're off. we've managed to do it. Not quite sure how, but we did it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and hop in here and pick up some fuel since we are right here. Of course, we do have now the upgraded fuel. Man, why do they insist upon making this quite as tight as it is here? Because now I'm going to have a hard time getting the trailer through here. But hopefully, we can make that happen. And we haven't even gotten out to the highway yet, much less an interstate, and we are already facing some big challenges. All right, there we go, 108 gallons. All right, I'm going to try to get through here if I can without hitting anything. And okay, I think we made it. Now we'll see when we have an opening. All right, looks like the AI is going to do their normal routine, which is to flood the area with AI cars as soon as we get here, making it increasingly difficult for us to pull out. Oh, what in the world happened to my view there? Well, that's not exactly how I planned to pull out there. So I've got a button on the steering wheel that is... Car, leave us alone. We're trying to make this unscathed. So we're running an obstacle course instead of a highway system right now. But I've got a button mapped on the steering wheel that its purpose is to reset my view inside for when I need to use the mouse to move around and look around. It's supposed to help out with that. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work exactly the way I need it to work. Sometimes it gives us that wonky view that we just saw. So anytime you see that happening, where the view suddenly changes to something that looks weird, that is me trying to center the view and get it back to where you see it right now. Most of the time it works just fine, but every once in a while it is working against me. Alright, here we go. Once again, we're going to hope that we can get out here without getting into any trouble and hitting anything. Okay, looks like we've got no traffic. About what you would expect for 3:30 in the morning. So the last delivery that I took, which brought me over to the Port of Oakland, actually took me through a national park. I don't, off the top of my head, remember the name of the park, but it was odd because I've gone through there a couple of times now, and of course you have to go pretty slow through there, either by design or because of traffic. And the really odd thing is that as soon as you get to the entrance, it tells you that no commercial trucking is allowed and you have to turn around. Well, turning around really isn't an option for me, particularly at that point. But I just found it odd that you would have that message in a game about trucking. All right, these guys up ahead, I know we're going 60 miles an hour. This is something that I'm going to have to work through now that we have our upgraded truck, because for me, I'm so used to having to give it, full throttle a lot of times just to maintain our speed, and especially if we're trying to go up a hill, we're going to need full throttle just to try to maintain as much speed as we possibly can. So now with this upgrade and a much more powerful engine and much better transmission also, then we don't need to do that as much. So I find myself going much faster than I actually think I'm going on a regular basis. So right now we are in a 55 mile an hour zone, and I'm going to go 60. We're going to go 5 miles per hour over, which is pretty much the standard that is allowed in the area where I live. So we're going to stick to that. That'll help us make time a little bit better than just strictly following the speed limit, but we're going to hope that that speed limit increases here in the near term, because we would certainly like to be going a lot faster than this if possible. I love those roads in this game where you can get up to 80. Those are the roads that allow you to really make some time. All right, as normal, I'm going to spend as much time as I can here in this left-hand lane just to avoid the AI for the most part, just so that I don't have to swap lanes back and forth and deal with any potential issues with them. I had an issue with the AI on my previous delivery that took me over to the port. I actually was going through a town area where the speed limit was 35 miles an hour. Everything was going along just fine, and then all of a sudden the AI that was right in front of me came to a complete stop, just slammed on the brakes, and there was really nowhere for me to go. I couldn't swap lanes at that point. There was traffic around me, so I just basically plowed into their back end and sustained some damage. So I'm trying to avoid that kind of stuff as much as possible. But sometimes, and I've got a pretty good idea why they slammed on the brakes like that. There wasn't an intersection there. There wasn't a red light. Nothing along those lines. They weren't turning. They were going straight ahead. However, there was a lane merger up ahead. Now, we weren't to it yet, but it was getting to where we were going to be there shortly. So they went ahead and slammed on the brakes, came to a stop so that they could prepare for that, I suppose. All right, still waiting on that speed limit to go up, and who knows, it might not go up. I've not tried to memorize the map and the speed limits and all that kind of thing so that I know certain areas where we're going to be able to go faster and make up more time. I've not even attempted to do that. That takes away some of the fun for me. It's something I used to do in these types of games all the time. I would get a lot more strategic about it, but now I just spend most of my time sitting back and enjoying the scenery and enjoying the view, and enjoying spending a little time with you guys and all the fun that we get to have in this game. And we replace that over the top of some of the strategy that I used to go through in these type games. All right, so far so good. The AI staying in their lane. I'm trying to stay in mine as best I can anyway. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I'm going to continue to work with the force feedback. It is still off in the game and probably will remain so, just so I can get rid of that weird vibration that was happening from time to time. I haven't had that happen since I turned off the force feedback in game and went to purely using the controller program for the force feedback. I've turned that down quite a bit, and I think we're okay here. It's certainly not perfect, but in all likelihood, I would never get it to where I figured it was perfect to begin with. So right now, it is pretty good. And we still have that, what has been all too common for me over the years. Anytime you're using a force feedback wheel, sometimes if you leave it right in the center, then it will get that violent shake left to right, and it will just shake until you grab it and stop it. I still get that from time to time. And hopefully it doesn't happen while we're recording, but it does happen for sure. Not sure exactly what causes that. It almost seems as if that happens when there is no force feedback and the system is giving nothing as far as any data to the wheel, so it doesn't know what to do about that. So it just freaks out a little bit. All right, so you can plainly see just going 5 miles an hour over the speed limit, and we are blowing by all of the traffic that we're encountering. All right, now I'm going to hop back in the left-hand lane because I saw some traffic coming up behind me that looked like they were gaining on me, so I'm going to give them an opportunity to pass. I'm going to try to be nice to the AI and hope that they're going to be nice in return. It's still at 55 miles an hour. This game is trying to torture me now. We've got 330 miles to go, so again, not among our longest or fastest trips as this is turning out, but we should be perfectly fine. hopefully we can avoid as many of the cities where you have to slow down to 25 or 35 miles an hour. You do that for an extended period of time, and that is certainly going to put a dent in your time schedule. But admittedly, right now, these guys passing me is not sitting well with me. I'm ready to put the pedal down and go much faster. But again, we're trying to obey speed limits within reason and trying to stick around 5 miles an hour within the limit as much as we can. At some point, I might decide that's a bit too much for me to handle. All right, so we got some traffic up ahead. We got some traffic coming up behind us. And let's see how this all works out. All right, he really wants to make sure that we know we've got to pull in for a vehicle inspection, so we'll make sure to do that. All right, here we go. Let's get the Walmart truck out of the way. Really do enjoy seeing some of those real-life company names as we pass through. Okay, gross weight 55,763 pounds. But our new engine and transmission package is able to take care of that, no problem. All right. Oh, I thought we're not going. We're not. Oh my goodness. Come on, AI. If we're not going to go in that big of a break, then we're going to have a hard time ever getting out. All right, so we may have to take matters into our own hands here momentarily. Because if we get a decent sized break in the traffic, like we've had a couple of to this point, then we may have to get going. Whether or not Walmart will be joining us. All right, of course, one of the problems you have right now is that, oh, that is certainly not what I was hoping would happen. All right, but we're out. That was as long as I was willing to stay in that one area. So the good news is for Walmart, we made an opening there so they could hop out with us. So we did them a favor, if nothing else. But yeah, there's a limit to how long I'm just going to sit there and wait for the AI to decide they can pull out. We've already seen on too many occasions just how the AI will behave, and they send, if we're in a certain area, then they will send tons of AI through there at intersections and places like this. So just so that they can make sure we have to deal with that. Alright, so going a little bit too fast. Oops. Wrong button. A little bit too fast there. I'm actually going to pull this back once again to 60 and go ahead and hop over in our left-hand lane and see if we can't cruise for a little while. We're down to 277 miles. It's been a rather eventful journey to this point. Much more eventful than I would prefer. Alright, so let's just sit back and see if we can't enjoy some scenery for a little while. All right, so we're getting very close to 100 miles remaining. This is when I really need to focus a little bit better than I usually do on that GPS and making sure that we don't miss our exit. I offer no guarantees, as always, but I'm going to try to do a little bit better job. This is the type of scenery that I really enjoy in the game. Not such a big fan of the desert and all of the rocks. I'm okay for a little while with it, but after a short amount of time, I'm ready to get back to some greenery, some life on the sides of the road. And of course, as we get closer to San Diego, then obviously we're going to see some very nice greenery. All right, so 105 miles remaining. And once again, just trying to pay attention as much as possible to that GPS. Every once in a while we come up on some of the cloverleaf type designs, and it really gets me confused for a minute. Simply because, in real life I would know where I'm going, and I would have already planned out my route to get there, so none of that would be a surprise. But here in the game, it's all a surprise. So whenever I get to one of those, I have to start counting lanes to see which lane I'm supposed to be in, and then just hope that I'm in the right one at the right time. So far, so good. All right, looks like we got some slower traffic up ahead. Let's see how this works out. Are we going from a 3 to a 2 lane? We must be. Something's happening because we're slowing down. Okay, no, maybe not. I'm going to work my way over to this middle lane. Let's see. No, we're not getting off at this exit. We're at 83 miles remaining, so we're not far from where we're going to be getting off the interstate. But for right now, it looks like we got a little bit of time left because we're not getting off at this next exit either. All right, there we go. That truck is exiting, so now we can easily hop over, and we'll slow down a little bit as well. Go ahead and slow back down to our 60 miles an hour now that we're in the lane that we need to be in for now. I love looking at these billboards as we pass by. There's some really funny stuff on here and some interesting takes on billboards that you'll see from time to time. Especially around Vegas. I've seen some good ones around Vegas. Different show titles. All right, we're around 55 miles remaining. And so this should be a pretty good payout for us, minus any damage we had along the way, because I'm sure we scrubbed up against a car or two, especially when we made our daring pulling out onto the interstate maneuver off the ramp. But other than that, it's been smooth sailing for the most part, at least the last half of this journey. First half was fairly adventurous. Last part of it, not so much, and I'm pretty happy about that. We still have just over a half a tank of fuel left, which is really good news. Having this larger fuel tank, while we're not going to be taking advantage of longer runs for the time being, it is still something that is good to have. Just for the convenience of it, if nothing else. Alright, so we're down under 40 miles to go, and again, in real life, 40 miles would be quite a distance still remaining to travel, but in the game, it's just not that far. And yes, it would appear as though we have not been to San Diego before, because I saw question marks, and there's a garage that can be purchased over here. Alright, let's go ahead and hop over. Make sure we're in the proper lane to exit. See the blimp there ahead of us in the distance. All right, how about a little daring cornering? Yeah, there we go. I think we survived that. And here we are. San Diego has been discovered. So there is probably a hiring building somewhere nearby. That's probably what one of those question marks was on the map. Okay, let's go ahead and hop back over into this lane, because at some point we got to be getting off, and actually it looks like we're going to be turning left up ahead now that I can see just far enough. But I'll make sure before we hop back over into the middle lane and then the left-hand lane. All right, I'm going to go ahead and slow down a little bit, because we do need to get over, I think. No, we do not. We have to exit first. Okay. But we made it. We made it. We have discovered San Diego. Now we're finally going to enter part of San Diego. But we're not going very far. Once we exit the interstate here, we're not going to have very far to go before we're going to drop these Teslas off. All right, let's see what we've got. Nothing from the right, it doesn't appear. All right, so centering the view worked perfectly that time. And this is going to be another one of those where we're not going to be parking this trailer, because the way we're going to have to get ourselves in here, it's just going to make it more of a pain than it could ever be worth with the amount of XP they're going to offer us. So we're going to pull up just far enough to trigger this. We're going to say, nope, I'm in a hurry. Confirm that. And there we go, 475 miles. They're showing us as excellent. We always like that. And we earn a total of $25,466. Excellent. There you can see our bonuses, proficiency, base reward, and then our distance bonus. All right, not too bad. So we're currently sitting at level 17. Level 20 is our next big goal, which will get us to a new paint scheme, and hopefully a great looking paint scheme. I think it will be, but we'll just have to wait and see. So a nice amount of money we earned here in today's video. Thank you very much for joining me, and stay tuned as we will continue American Truck Simulator.